ahead and get into our next set of topics right now here on Ground and Pounds. We take a look at it right now. And starting off with Najee Harris right now. He's truly impressed teammates right now in OTAs and minicamp. I have free safety Mika Fitzpatrick on Najee Harris saying, and quote, I love Najee as a man and as a player. He's a great dude, has a great story, but as a player, he's a competitor. I love playing him. He's fast. He's challenging us out of the backfield, catching passes, going against the linebackers. He has that you're not going to outwork me type mindset. That's something that we love having in the city of Pittsburgh. And I got to believe right now, I mean, that's nothing but positive right now. Hopefully that continues to be as good as advertised as we look at, I mean, for this time. I mean, a guy who definitely insists, like I said, he really believes he can fill a guy like Le'Veon Bell's shoes and take it to a whole nother level. And like I always say, I mean, it's one thing when you want to write a check, but can you cash it now at this point? Because I really do believe he's got some great potential for this team right now to really get them going back in the right direction. When you also look at, too, I mean, the previous past right now of the comparison of the breakdown between Le'Veon Bell and James Conner in recent years. I mean, of course, Le'Veon Bell, his credit, when he was playing with the Steelers, I mean, you look at everything that they've been able to contribute right now. I mean, in Le'Veon Bell's, let's see, in his 5 seasons with the Steelers, as we look at it, I mean, for his time, I mean, Le'Veon Bell, I mean, for the most part, I mean, his made his contributions right now as we look at. I mean, helping the team average out to 136 and a half yards per game, and then averaging 86.1 yards himself right now. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, to his credit, I mean, during his entire tenure as a Steeler right now, he contributed at least 49% of the yards he gained. He gained 5,336 yards on the ground versus the team's 10,920 yards. That is about nearly half the amount right there. I mean, he contributed for during his 5 seasons in Pittsburgh. On the flip side, you have James Conner, who's played in the team for 4 seasons. I mean, he showed a little bit of flash, pretty much excitement in that first year in 2018. Same season that they could not come to terms on Le'Veon Bell on a new contract to keep him with guaranteed money. I mean, which arguably in the Steelers' minds could have made him more money, I mean, together. The only problem was, I mean, Le'Veon Bell was hesitant and adamant about walking the tightrope to see that money coming in. He was always maintaining the fact he wanted to have guaranteed money and safety, I mean, for him and his career and his family. I mean, and good for him. I mean, continue to do like the rap albums, anything you need to do to make the extra money. I mean, as we look at today's athletes in social media, where it's being on Instagram, Twitter, or, I mean, TikTok, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, they have opportunities to make extra money in their income. I mean, pretty much as their part-time gig, I guess you could say. But, I mean, really look at it, I mean, in that regard, too. I really do, as their part-time gig, I guess you could say. I mean, listen, I mean, I really wish if I could go back in time, I would have had things figured out for this guy. But at the same time, too, when you're with an organization like the Steelers right now, I mean, it's hard to put anyone above the franchise. Not that he was doing it, playing by the rules. But at the end of the day, too, I do feel like his agent, who ultimately did decide to have him sit out the entire year as time continued to nag along. Remember, he was not in full decision where he was going to return during the season or not. I mean, the time that he had to sign his franchise tender, as they were starting to find stuff out in the new CBA, just figured it would make more sense that he would have less wear and tear on his body just by sitting out. I really feel like his agent screwed up his career. I mean, playing wise, because at the end of the day, you cannot convince me that he was looking out for him wisely. I mean, other than he just got his guaranteed money. I mean, I think he had like a 3-year deal with the New York Jets, but still, I mean, where did it get you ultimately in your career? I mean, that frustrating situation with Adam Gase right there and the New York Jets. Adam Gase was not too fond of the amount of money they offered him. But still, I really do believe, too, I mean, definitely made this guy uncomfortable, did not use him properly. Then to go on to the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, I think he showed flashes of, I mean, what his performance was. I mean, in that stretch right there, especially when they're trying to lock up the number 1 seed in the AFC. And at the end of the day, too, he did not play in Super Bowl 55 versus the Bucs. Did not even go get an opportunity to go up against his former teammate in Antonio Brown. And I think that left a very bitter taste right there in his mouth. But I think I have no idea what the rift was between him and Andy Reid, which by the way, he stated that he would not play for him again if he was still the head coach of the Chiefs. I think that's a messed up relationship. But if I were to pinpoint it, I would definitely say it had to probably do something with the fact that maybe when a fan asked him about him like not signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers when he had an opportunity to get the contract extension, Le'Veon Bell was maintaining that the Steelers should have signed him. Now, I wonder if Andy Reid was just trying to monitor him, just trying to put himself out there, drag negative attention on his Instagram post. I don't know if that sparked anything. I doubt there was any racial speculation in there at all. Andy Reid is definitely one of the most respected coaches. And Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid, they remind each other alike, I mean, as far as like their tenures in this league goes. I mean, it's just hard to fathom that you would have a problem, I mean, with a guy like an Andy Reid and just not be able to figure this thing out. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is a guy right now who's still looking for a home. I think he's no longer with the Chiefs, but come on. I think if he would have stayed on, I think things would have probably been, the offense would have still been clicking. We still had clicking with Antonio Brown for last season. I mean, with just 2 out of the 3 killer bees that year. But of course, we all remember how that controversy ended that year when he put Juju Smith-Schuster on blast on a critical game versus New Orleans Saints, where they lost in New Orleans. I just feel right now where you got to really look at the end of the day is like, how do you get this thing, I mean, fixed and rectified here? I mean, if anything, if I am Le'Veon Bell, I mean, it's a huge what if. It was definitely a huge miss, I think, for both sides. But there's been clearly no decisive winner. I guess maybe you could say Le'Veon Bell for the moment because he did go up with a team that went to the Super Bowl. And you still got the Steelers right now still looking for that guy. I mean, a team is still booming as far as playoff contention. And they should be this year. But when you got new kids on the block right now with a reborn Browns team is fueling with confidence, we shall see. So let's see if Najee Harris is able to do that. Also, another thing I want to get into, too, is Deontay Johnson right now looking to improve his drops right now. As we looked at, he led the league in drops a season ago with anywhere between 13 and 16, including in five quarters against Washington football team and the Buffalo Bills, which got him benched for the final 25 minutes of the first half against the Bills. How is he going to get around it? Well, one of his answers right now is that he plans to use the tennis ball to help his issue with the drops. Johnson ball machine designed to help tennis pros work on their game that fires tennis balls as fast as 70 miles per hour, more than the pace Johnson was looking to train his eyes to come off the ball. The Steelers did lead the league around Johnson with 43 drops, with half of them coming from Johnson and Eric Ebron. I would imagine that would be the time, too, once during that Ravens game. I would have to say more so is when things really started to spiral out of control for this team. And after the 11-0 start, they would go on to lose. I mean, like three other remaining 4 games after the 3 other remaining 5 games, starting with the Washington football team. But actually, like I said, I think their moment of glory was against the Colts, wrapping up the AFC North, hanging on to the division. And that's where you have that at. And I just feel right now, when you try and pick up this ball and get back in everything, it's definitely an all-time interesting thing here. As you got with Matt Canada right now, I mean, just what are you going to do right now that's going to really put this team back in prominence? How do you change this offense? I mean, are they drifting away from trying to run the ball consistently? That brought them success as a history all time. I still got to have answers to that, but we'll definitely keep this train rolling right now as we are getting ready to go into our next set of topics right now. And real quick before we wrap this up, out of all those drops, 5 more than 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, according to Sports Info Solutions. That led the league by a large margin. And now when you got Deontay Johnson once again returning with Chase Claypool and Juju Smith-Schuster right now, and be interesting to see too. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, I think, trying to go from the slot to the wideout position. How do things work out for this team this season? We'll definitely shall see about that as we continue to go into that. But I would expect Deontay Johnson to improve. I expect him to have a bounce back year. I still think Eric Ebron, despite his drops, he's still not a bad tight end for this team. But you got to maintain ball security, as we all know. So let's get into the hurry up right now as we look at markability of the Athletics stated that the Steelers players had no say in whether they were going to have training camp at St. Vincent College. The first they heard of it was today, which would have been, yesterday, I want to say. Let's see. Yeah, it was yesterday. They found out that they did not have any say in that. And also, Ed Bichette does go on to note, too, that the Chiefs did receive the okay to hold training camp at Missouri Western State University. Cowboys did get clearance to have their camp in Oxford, California, both with fans, yet Steelers were denied by the NFL and NFLPA. And I think that's definitely rarely disappointing right there. I mean, you got Pennsylvania getting to slowly come back right now with their mask restrictions being lifted. And I don't know what it boils down to as far as like in the state of Pennsylvania right now as we look at everything. And it is definitely a disappointment to say the least, but they will be having their training camps at Heinz Field and in the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. I mean, coming up for this year is you got Tom Wolf, who is the governor of that state. And we'll see what continue to happen. But, yeah, I mean, and then also, too, I mean, Governor Wolf right now, I mean, speaking of him, he is saying that 75% of Pennsylvania received the first COVID-19 vaccination. And he was saying in a quote, together Pennsylvania set an important milestone in the fight against COVID-19. Currently, there and 4 adults in Pennsylvania receive at least one COVID-19 vaccination. The data show that the number of cases of COVID-19 is decreasing as the vaccination rate increases, so we can see how far we have progressed. We should be proud we have seen a weekly decline in positive rates as evidenced by the current positive rate, 1.2%, compared to 1.4% last week. And it was ranked 8 above President Joe Biden's aggressive goal of 70% of adults receiving at least one COVID-19 vaccination by July 4th nationwide for first dose vaccination. But I'm wondering if like maybe that has any concerns, any possible remote possibility of why. I mean, is it still deemed a little bit unsafe? Right there. And I don't know. I mean, as far as this portion, listen, I was at training camp a few years ago, just proud to at least have some little reporting coverage for the podcast. And I mean, to have like 2 straight years at that famous facility, which would have been the 55th year, I mean, to like hold a camp. But instead, I mean, it's going to be held off as we look at. I mean, the Steelers will be splitting their time, like I said, at the UPMC Rowing Sports Complex and Heinz Field, with some fans permitted at Heinz Field. They're supposed to be keeping updates as we go along right now, as we look at it. And I've been really interested in that part. And it's just going to really be interesting to see how that goes. Like I said, we also got right here on this hurry up set of topics right now, according to Sports Track. Like I said, once again, Trey Turner signing a $3 million deal per source, which is reported by Jeremy Fowler. Sports Track does know it's a 1-year, $3 million deal. And definitely right now. And one thing too, I mean, with the Castro's release, just to back up on earlier, he was entering the 2021 season with a $14.3 million cap hit. With that release, the Steelers will be saving $8.75 million as what we looked at it. And I think for right now, I mean, you know, and we got some like little concerns right now. I mean, is TJ Watt going to get like his contract extension? But I mean, you really need to make sure that, I mean, they got enough guys ready to go for this time being here as we look at it. And I'm just not so sure how we do this for the time being. But I definitely do feel like right now, I mean, on everything going on, you have to make sure that everything is definitely being taken care of diligently as we looked at it. And here's a statement by Burt Lawton on the Steelers not having camp in Latrobe as we look at, once again, being quoted and saying, "We're disappointed we won't be holding our 2021 training camp at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. We're prepared to safely host training camp on campus with fans. But unfortunately, our plan was not approved due to the NFL's COVID-19 protocols. We will now have training camp, which is slated to begin in late July, split between the Heinz Field and the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. Once our practice schedule is finalized, we will announce plans to host fans at Heinz Field for a select number of practices. They anticipate the support of St. Vincent College and Latrobe community and look forward to returning to campus in 2022. So definitely something to pay attention to right there as we look at it. I mean, for this moment, I'd like to hear from you fans right now. I mean, what's your expectation, disappointment? How we plan on going out there? I mean, just for Heinz Field. I mean, like I said, I take no issue if they have practices at Heinz Field. I would love to be over there by any means. I mean, just being in Latrobe. I mean, like I said, I was there 2 years ago, had a blast. just being around the area of Pittsburgh while waiting for it. I mean, of course, so too. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, for the time, I mean, Daryl Drake, I mean, he was the guy who headlined the weekend with him, his son passing that weekend. And unfortunately, I was there that weekend. Then final to Sunday morning, I arrived late Saturday evening, and just very sad and for him, his family, Steelers community, just not being able to experience that. And you feel a guy like I mean Daryl Drake, who was also a longtime assistant to Lovey Smith back in that time for a lot of years for what he has done. It was definitely a sad moment, nonetheless, as we looked at it. And yeah, it was definitely a heartbreaker, no doubt. And so we continue to take a look at it right now for more stuff right now as we also get into it as we're getting ready to go wrap things up here in just a few moments.